Welcome to Workplace Opportunity Week, a series of 21 events over 6 days, finishing on Saturday the 14th of November. My name's Carl Grimes and I'm a Senior Programme Manager with Greater Manchester Combined Authority. Workplace Opportunity Week is part of the wider Meet Your Future campaign. The Meet Your Future work shadowing campaign was launched by the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, in April 2019. Meet Your Future offers experiences of the workplace and encounters with employers to young people from across Greater Manchester in a variety of business environments to help young people learn about the different roles and careers and gain first-hand experience of the world of work. Thank you for joining today's Q&A with Casey Turner from Fortem and Graham Richards from Ronhill, Hilly and Altra. This week is a chance to promote the brilliant workplace opportunities across Greater Manchester and the positive impact they can bring at such a difficult time. We've organised a range of events for students of all ages, their parents and carers, and their teachers. Please use the chat function to ask any questions that come to mind, and we'll do our best to answer them. You'll find the chat function or Q&A function is the two speech bubbles with the question mark, and if you pose your questions into there will be an opportunity to ask these to our speakers at the end of their presentations. So without further ado, I am going to hand over to our first speaker, who is Graham Richards from Hilly, Ronhill, Hilly, Altra, and I will hand over to you, Graham, and I'll just change my slides so that you can, everyone can see you. So bear with me one moment. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. And afternoon, everybody, and welcome. So, yeah, as Carl said, I'm Graham Richards. I'm the Managing Director of OSC Running, based here in Hyde, Greater Manchester. I look after three running brands, Ronhill, Hilly and Altra, and basically that's running apparel, running socks, accessories and footwear. So we basically cater for every need of the runner. The brand is 50 years old, so we've been around a fair while, and I've been with the business for 40 years, a little more about that later. We also own a number of other brands within the group, some of whom you may have heard of, Mountain Equipment and Sprayway, Bridgedale, outdoor brands. So hopefully you may have heard of those brands. They're all based in our offices here in Hyde, and we all, in many respects, perform the same function. We're all brands, all got a lot of heritage. Mountain Equipment's 55 years old, Sprayway's 45 years old. And what we do in a nutshell is we design a range of products and then we sell our products. Sounds simple, but the process, basically twice a year, we have launches for the spring summer season and autumn winter season. So the design teams produce new ranges. We then have a big sales launch. I'll just quickly tell you what we've done this last week. Normally we have our sales launch over 2 days in Manchester hotel with models, and our overseas distributors and UK reps attend. But obviously due to COVID, we haven't been able to do that this year at all. So last week we actually did our autumn winter presentation via Zoom. Last Monday it was to 40 of our overseas distributors, and with the marketing team put together some fantastic video, some external video we'd done on location. So we changed the way that we did things. So that starts everything off. So we present the ranges, all of our UK reps, all of our distributors get samples, and then over the next sort of month to about the middle of January, they then present the ranges to their customers. They send in their orders to us, and then our sourcing team get to work analysing all the orders, placing orders with factories. So next August, because this was our autumn winter 21 collection, that product will arrive into our warehouse here in Hyde, and then to shipped out to the UK and all over the world, and that's how the whole process starts. Whilst that's what we do, it's no different. There are many other brands in the Greater Manchester region, perhaps there are some sport brands, but there's some outdoor, there's some fashion brands, corporate workwear brands, and very much that will be the same process. Okay, so that's that's what we do. We sell our products to, because we specialise in running, we sell to virtually every running store around the country, general stores, outdoor stores. And on the high streets, we sell to the likes of John Lewis, who stock our products. And interestingly enough, you know, we design everything here in Hyde, Greater Manchester, and one of the big chains of stores that we trade with, called Up and Running, based in Deansgate in Greater Manchester. So we design in Manchester, the products are manufactured all over the world, they come back to the UK and they end up in Manchester. How's that? So that's a little bit about our, you know, our business and what we do. Just very briefly, I joined the business, as I say, it was 40 years ago. So those of you that are good at maths can probably work out my age. I joined when I was 21, just after graduating, and I'll be very honest with you, at that stage I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I had a business degree, and I actually was at the time a keen runner and developing runner. I've raced at a reasonable standard, and I saw an advert in an athletics magazine for a general management trainee with Ronhill. And I applied and fortunately got the job, and the rest, as they say, is history. I've covered all aspects over those years. I've covered all aspects from sales to sourcing to marketing. So, for example, in sourcing, and I'll come on to the different roles within a business in a minute, you know, I've traveled the world, going to factories, seeing our products being made, and likewise with sales. One of the things that I tried to do over recent years is develop our export business. As I say, we exhibit to well over 35 countries. So I visited many countries in Europe and around the world, seeing new potential distributors. Indeed, 12 months ago, thinking about it, I had a trip to the Far East, which was in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, Hong Kong and China. So fortunately, the role has enabled me to see the world and meet new people. And that in itself has been a highlight of my career so far. But really, my role now is running the business. You know, I have a great team working with me and for me, and we meet on a regular basis, the marketing team, the design team, the sourcing team. This week, for example, we had a full day looking at the new Spring Summer 21 collection that the design team put together. So really, my role is sort of a helicopter role in many respects. I am responsible to the group board in terms of budgeting and sales, but really I'm involved in all aspects of the business, which leads quite nicely on to, you know, what's involved in a business. And as I said earlier, whilst our business in many respects is no different to many other businesses and the roles. So, for example, sales, marketing, IT, HR, design, development, logistics, warehouse, finance, merchandising, garment technician, customer service. They're just a few of the wide variety of roles in a business. And I think that's something, you know, you may want to consider. You may not be aware of, and it's something that you may want to think a little more about as to the areas that may be of interest to you. And I'll come on to that a bit later. So they're the roles within a business, but let's look a little bit now to the future as well. Interestingly, due to we're all going through the effects, and I know it's been hard for everybody, the effects of COVID. What has been interesting with COVID, there's been some changes within business. So, for example, we've experienced a lot more business, and I'm sure you're aware, is being done online these days, e-commerce. We're all ordering, you know, more. People are ordering food. We're all probably ordering things from Amazon, and just in our business, those stores that have got a very strong online presence have done phenomenally well. So that's something to think about going forward. You know, I'm convinced that there will be an increase in the way that we perhaps shop. Yes, there will always be a need and a demand to go to shops, and it's great going to the Trafford Centre or to Manchester City Centre shopping. But online will play a greater part of our lives going forward, and that in turn there'll be a need for more web developers, logistics. Just think of all the drivers now, for example, all the logistics, everything that's needed to deliver all those parcels. Just another area, we're communicating here via Teams. That's revolutionized the business world over the last 6 to 8 months. All of my meetings now, where it would have been face-to-face, so I'd flown to France or to Malta or to a meeting, are all being done on Zoom or Teams or the other platforms. And again, that will be the future of business. A lot more people working at home. And again, companies are taking different views. No longer, there's a necessity for everybody to be in the office. We can work at home with our laptops and with our communication, the virtual platforms. So that's an area to think about going forward, an area that you may want to consider, and how that will improve and develop. And again, just from our side, just taking a wider context, we call it corporate responsibility. We are very, very active we're part of Fairware Foundation, which is ethical sourcing and sustainability. You've all been, David Attenborough, we've all been far more aware of the planet, and we now use, it's increasing all the time, each season, 40% of our fabrics are sustainable fabrics. So again, an area that the design team and we're looking at more closely. So just give thought to, to the future. That's something that will be of far more importance in business. So again, can lead and will lead to opportunities for you, I'm sure. So how do you get into business? How do you get a job? How do you try and so I'm going to give you a few examples here. As I say, my time is limited, so I'll keep it brief. As I say, I went to university, but that was just that's one route. It doesn't. Everyone has different aspirations and everybody has different abilities. But we do recruit. Manchester has a very strong reputation for clothing. We have recruited within our group here several graduates with clothing design degrees and related subjects. So that's one route. What I would say to you is try to narrow down your interests, and once you've narrowed down your interests, give thought to then some of the areas that may be of interest to you. What I would say, a big thing, is to try and gain experience. Experience is massive in the work life. Starting out or as you progress, experience is key. And I'm going to give you one example here. We have recruited several of our sales team who have worked in a running store. They obviously have an interest in running. They worked and they either left school or they had a Saturday job. They worked in a running store. They've gained confidence with products. They've gained confidence with customers. And really, we've then recruited them. They've usually joined us as a training, a tech training rep, and that role has meant that they've been traveling around the country. They've been visiting stores. They've been doing product training for the retail staff. They've attended events. They've done promotional days in store, go to races, set up a stand at a race and promote our products. And then after that, the next stage is they become a full-time rep, which means they have an area of the country where they're responsible for presenting our range, managing that area, managing the retailers, getting the orders. And then after that, John, our sales director, progressed to national accounts manager. That was dealing with the likes of John Lewis and other national accounts, and has become sales director. So, that's a really good example. And you may have an interest in fashion, you may have an interest in other areas. Try wherever possible to get gain some experience, because it's on your CV. You will have learned a little more about that area, and it really is an advantage for employers when they see that and they know that you have an interest. You can get into a role, and companies like ours, we do offer training, on the job training. We do offer additional training to sort of improve the individual. And so once you're in a role, you can have job specific training or other training too. But also consider perhaps doing a night school course to develop. You may not perhaps get the qualifications, or maybe not as sort of academic as school, not have that inclination at this stage, but there's nothing to stop you from progressing after you've left school and get into a job. You know, it's a long, I've been working for 40 years, and it's a long, you're going to be working a long time. And so starting out at the beginning and thinking all this through is important. I think the other thing, just to conclude on this, is another example. We have quite a big warehouse. Obviously, we're shipping out a lot of brands that we own. We're shipping out a lot of product, and you know, we do recruit in our warehouse, and many have then progressed. They progress from sort of a warehouse operative, learning the skills, learning the trade, then to become, for example, a team leader and progress there, but also move across within the organisation. We have several of the team that started in the warehouse are now working in the sales office and now working in customer liaison. So don't just think the same with, as I mentioned earlier, the example I gave about sort of gaining experience in shop. You may think, oh, I don't want to work in a warehouse. I don't want to work in a shop. But, you know, think about what opportunities. The key thing is getting on the rungs sometimes. If you're in a business and you work hard and you move forward, there can be opportunities. So don't just think about wanting to go in at a certain level. You know, think sometimes about moving in and moving up within the role. So to conclude, my 3 points are: you focus on, you know, what interests you, because it's nothing nicer than working in a job that you have an interest to. My interest all those years ago was running, because I was a runner, and I've stayed in this industry. Then secondly, think about what changes are going to take place and what will accelerate in the workplace going forward. I mentioned online e-commerce, I mentioned sustainability, corporate responsibility. They're just a few examples of changes that are going to take place in the workplace, and therefore the demand for jobs and new skills. And then, you know, finally, in a job, you get out what you put in. So if you put the effort in and, you know, work hard at the job and try and have, you know, take advantage of any training, you will reap the rewards, and I'm convinced of that. And so I wish you every success. As I say, I know it's hard sometimes knowing what you want to do. Do a little bit of research. You know, I've just mentioned about 15 roles in a company. If you want, just perhaps Google those roles and just learn a little bit more about them, or ask your teachers, or we can certainly give you further information if that helps. So I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
Graham, thank you. There's absolutely tons in there, and a lot of the questions I was scribbling down, you answered as you went through. It was so comprehensive, so thank you so much. I do have a couple of questions for you, and I think one of the things you touched upon is about being future ready, and how the world of business is going to change in terms of how we conduct business, how we engage with customers, but also in terms of how we actually work. And, you know, will there ever be a return to the office for a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday? In terms of young people becoming ready for the future world of work, what are the essential skills that young people should be focusing on developing?
Great question. Yes, I think that, as I said, over the last 8 months, we've all had to adapt to in our work life. For example, our group IT team here sets up, and over the group we employ 250. Everybody's able to work in the office or work from home. And, you know, for example, at the moment, the government, again with our current lockdown, the government say wherever possible work at home. So 95% of my team are working from home. So that, I think, you're right. The future, whatever comes, what will the new norm be? Without doubt, I think I mentioned that companies are more. In the past, we can't let people work at home. We can't keep control of this. But what it has proved is that people are responsible. People are keen to do their job. They know that if they do you know, out of sight, out of mind. They're letting their teammates down. So I think the one thing for me would be to, wherever possible, working at home, for example, is really skilling up as much as possible. I've had to learn, I mean, all the various aspects of Teams and Zoom and what buttons to, you know, what buttons to press and that. So I would certainly, I don't know what's happening in the schools at the moment, but certainly I would really try to look at the various platforms. We've mentioned Zoom, we've mentioned Teams, there are others, and how really then engaging. I would certainly, that would be as much knowledge of would be a key factor. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Really interesting, isn't it? I think the being able to be a self-starter and a self-motivator and manage your time when you say, you know, there won't be that expectation for people to be in the office, and you know, people are now being trusted because people can be productive at home.
Indeed.
It's good.
Indeed.
Two
yes.
questions for you. What does an average day look like? If there's such thing as an average day at the moment, if we turn back the clock, maybe, what does an average day look like for you in your role?
For me, there's no average day. Unfortunately, the higher up the ladder you go, then that's average day. And it's interesting, actually. It's a great question because, and I could spend a long time answering it. Because we now deal internationally, so I'm dealing with distributors in China and distributors in America. Just think of the time zone difference. China's 8 hours, or the Far East is 8 hours ahead, and America is 7 to 8 hours behind. So in the evening when I get home, which can be on average, say 6:30, have some food, wife, and then the emails and start pinging. It's America because it's the afternoon or the morning for them, and I try to answer, but I try to turn off. I have to turn off after a certain stage, otherwise I'd be working 24 hours. Then when I turn my computer on, I am an early riser. I try to exercise before I come to work, be running or walking or something. I turn my laptop on and there's about 4 emails from China because they're obviously 8 hours ahead. It could be 3 in the afternoon then. And I work on the basis that, you know, we have to adapt to their time zones because they want answers to questions because that's their working day. So, yeah, I think because, again, of email and the way that we communicate, it is so much easier now to communicate, and that in turn leads to more communication. But so my average day, I try to get into the office about between 7:45 and 8 o'clock. We officially start at 9 o'clock. The official hours are 9 to 5:30, probably an average. And really, there's a need at weekend. I normally play a bit of catch up with so many emails coming through in the week. Sometimes it's playing catch up at the weekend, but the team generally work. The core hours generally are 9 to 5:30. But really, it's the generally sort of said most people understand that they work the hours to do the job. So, for example, when we're getting very close to a sales launch in Manchester, you can imagine organising a sales launch for maybe 50, 60 people with catwalk and models. The marketing team, the design teams are working some late hours leading up to that. So I think being adaptable is the key thing. And my conclude on that question, for me, it's give and take. You know, if people put a bit of extra effort in, I'm happy for them to have a few hours. You know, they want to have, you know, a give and take. And that's what teamwork's about. It's no use everybody, oh, it's 5:30 now, I'm going home, when there's an important deadline. It's about, you know, and that again answers the question about what you put in, you get out. Those people that put the extra effort in are the ones that get spotted, and they're the ones that, you know, want something more than a job. They want a career.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? You know, flexibility is key, and if you, as you said, sometimes you want to go, if you want to go up the ladder, you know, it doesn't happen just by accident. And my final question for you is, what's the best thing about your job?
The best thing about the job, I think obviously this I answer that two really for me. One is obviously seeing our sales develop and our brand grow. Because obviously we know then that we're gaining, the brand is gaining popularity, not only in the UK, around the world. I think the demand, we are getting approach now from countries with whom we're not dealing with. And it's nice that we are seeing our brand, which was predominantly for many, many years a UK brand and UK sort of centred in that sense, to be able to go to, for me, as I mentioned earlier, when I went to Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, I gave the new distributor in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, they had a launch event, and here I am, it's the end of November, and I'm in Kuala Lumpur, and I'm talking to a group of people about our products launching in that country, and that's a great satisfaction to see a brand develop. And so that's given a lot of that gives me a big kick still, seeing our brand on runners in different countries.
Fantastic, thank you, Graham. Thank you so much for your time today. You've given us such an insight and really detailed questions. We really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
And now I am going to introduce Casey Turner from Fortem, and Casey's going to, she has got some slides, and so Casey's going to let me know when I need to press the button. Casey, over to you.
Thank you. If you can just move to the first one, please, Carl. So hi everyone, my name's Casey Turner. I'm a business support manager at a company called Fortem, and I've been asked to come to speak to you all today about workplace opportunities and my career journey since I joined the business. If you could just move on, please, Carl. So before I start talking about me, I thought I'd introduce the company that I work for, Fortem, and tell you a little bit about the history there and what we do. So we're a repairs and maintenance provider. So this means that any home that is looked after by the council or a housing association, we could be responsible for carrying out the repairs there. So we have a team of tradespeople that can carry out anything from fixing a leaking tap to building a brand new house extension and carrying out structural work. So no job is too big or small for our trades. The company Fortem was founded in 2002, so it's now been running for 18 years, longer than the most of you was born, maybe even nearly as long as me. And the company started out as just 38 people, and we now have over 1,000 people working for the company, and the majority of those being tradespeople. So we have around 800 tradespeople to around 200 staff looking after those. We have over 15 offices and contracts spread all over the country, and we go from the Scottish border right down to Bournemouth on the south coast. Since I joined Fortem, I've driven over 100,000 miles, which is quite a long way. The number of properties that we look after differs from contract to contract, but to put it into perspective, we look after over 100,000 homes across the UK, and that means that there's over 100,000 people that we're responsible for making sure that they live in a happy, safe home. If you could just move on, please, Carl. So a little bit about me really and where I started and my career journey. So I'm 23 years old and I've worked for Fortem for just over 4 years. I joined in September 2016 and I've loved every second of it, believe it or not. I do actually really enjoy work. I left school in 2013 and I went to sixth form and I chose to study biology, chemistry, physics and maths. And it was very, very hard. 1 year into my A-levels, I made the choice that I wasn't quite ready to go to university. I had no clue what career I wanted to enter, what industry I wanted to enter, and I decided that I wanted to go into the world of work and start to earn myself a little bit of money. I did have 2 jobs previous, so I had part-time jobs. My first ever job, I started 4 days after my 16th birthday at McDonald's. So I worked on the burger side at McDonald's, and then I went on to work at Foot Locker selling trainers, and both of them just part-time whilst I studied at sixth form. And after deciding that I wanted to get a full-time job rather than go to university, being a science lover, studying biology, chemistry and physics, I applied for a job at my secondary school as a science technician, and I worked there for just under 2 years. So I spent the best part of 2 years waltzing around in a lab coat, checking out all the fun science experiments, making sure they were safe before handing them over to the students like yourselves to give a go. But after 2 years, I decided I was ready for a change. I wanted to progress into a bit of a higher management role, and there was no scope for that in my current job, so I had to look elsewhere. And that's where I applied to work at Fortem. And I joined the management trainee scheme for 4 years. So the basis of the scheme is really that over the 4 years, every 6 months, you move into a different area of the business. So it's a really good opportunity to get an all-rounded view of the company. And then at the end of the 4 years, you choose which bit you like best, and if there's a role there, then you get to work in that part of the business. So September this year, I was offered a job in business support, which is where I work now, and I was promoted into business support manager. If you could go on to the next slide, please, Carl. So I'll just give a little bit of a breakdown really from when I started at Fortem, all the things that I've done over my management training skip and all the different skills that I've learned. So when I joined in September 2016, my first placement was in the finance team in Hertfordshire down at head office. So that's over 2 hours away from where I live. So to be fair, it was quite a big step for me. I was 18 years old, never lived away from home, never really done a long journey travelling, and my first placement was a 2 hour drive from where I lived. I lived in a flat with someone that I'd never met before, which was really interesting, and working in the central finance team, it really gave me a great insight into the business. So I spent a lot of time travelling around the different branches that we have at Fortem and looking at their accounts really. So have they made money? Have they lost money? Is there any ways that we can improve money? Because ultimately as a business, you do have to make profit to keep running. So it was a really, really good opportunity, and I was quite sad actually when I had to move after 6 months into my next placement. So in March 2017, I moved to the quantity surveying team in Rotherham branch. So I do live in Rotherham, so it was very nice and close to where I come from. And I worked in a team of 4 people, where the repairs contract in Rotherham, we was pricing up all the jobs. So when a trade goes out to whether it's fixing a toilet or a tap or building a fence, we would price up that job. So we would say, what materials have they used, how long have they been on the job, and we would submit it as a cost to get paid from Rotherham Council. If you like maths, it might be an interest for you, but it's definitely not, you don't need maths to go into quantity surveying. And then in September 2017, I moved into business development. So this involved a lot of meeting new people, networking, and it's all about finding new business. So obviously working in a business, they're always keen to grow, to expand what the places that we work in. So I spent a lot of time going to different events. So I went to the Women in Housing Awards in Birmingham. For the past 3 years in a row, I've gone to the CIH conference, which is in Manchester. And I spent a lot of time going around meeting new people, and it really, really improved my confidence and communication skills as well in the business. So then in March 2018, this was the first placement really I really got into the construction side of the business. So previously I'd been involved in housing quite a lot, but I really got involved in the construction side. So I moved into the pre-construction team in the Midlands. So in this placement, I got to see a classroom extension to a primary school, really from the very, very beginning to the end. So I was there involved when we was approached by I think it was Warwickshire County Council, to say, Fortem, are you interested in building an extension on one of my schools? If so, do you want to go out, have a look and see what you can do? So we went out to site, had a look, and did all the designs, did the costings, submitted it to the council and said, if you want this doing, this is what we can do. Do you want to go ahead? They said they wanted to go ahead. So then we worked on site in a cold, muddy winter to build this 4 classroom extension. So it was a really, really good opportunity that I got there. If you could move on, please, Carl. So then the next placement that I did was in January 2019, and this is where I moved into the mobilisation team. So it's a central support team, so we work mainly out of head office, but it includes the setup of new contracts. So when I first took the role in this team, I was just told it could be absolutely anywhere in the country, wherever you needed. But luckily, we got 2 contracts in Manchester. So my job was to set up the processes and welcome over 100 new employees to the business. So we had 100 new people joining, and it was really, really key that I made sure they got a warm welcome. So joining a new business, you've really got to make sure that people feel like they're coming home, really. And it's quite a big step for me, and it was really, really good. Built lots of skills while I was in that placement. I stayed in there for over a year because I enjoyed it that much. And in March 2020, I moved into the operations team. So rather than supporting so much as what I was doing in the mobilisation team, I moved into the operations team. So that was really getting into the nitty gritty of the day-to-day operations that ran out of that Manchester office. And then due to the pandemic and overturn of staff, I actually was given quite a big responsibility and ended up looking after a team of 3 supervisors and around 40 tradespeople that were going into people's homes on a daily basis during the pandemic to carry out repairs. And we actually managed to keep the service running for the whole time during the pandemic, which I think was really good. It was really key that we made sure that the customers whose homes we were going into felt safe, and our tradespeople that were going into them homes felt safe. So I think for someone that's not been in the business that long, with not that much experience, I was given a real big responsibility, and that just shows what Fortem was willing to put into me due to my dedication, really. And then come to the end of my traineeship, that was 4 years over like a flash. I was offered a role in the management trainee scheme, a role into business support, from the management trainee scheme. And my current role now, so I've only been in it for a couple of months, but it involves travelling all over the country to different parts of our business. So identifying areas of improvement and ways that we can share best practice. So at the moment, I'm working in Birmingham, and I'm at a contract where we have over 100 tradespeople going into people's homes every day, and at the moment they're spending a lot of time travelling and getting stuck in traffic in Birmingham city centre. So what my job really is there is to have a look at different ways of working. So is there something that we can do to avoid this? Could we plan the jobs better in? All different things really, and that's what my role is now. So once I've done in Birmingham, I'll move to somewhere else where it might be that we're struggling with a lot of complaints and we don't know why, we don't know what the trends are. So I'll move there and have a look into that. And that's really what my role is now, as business support, just literally travelling around the business, trying to make improvements where I possibly can. If you could go on to next, please, Carl. And then the next part that I want to talk about is how work can be fun. So in my time at Fortem, I've been offered loads of brilliant opportunities really to get involved. Probably the first thing to mention is that I get a day off every day on my birthday. So that's just a great thing that my work offer. Every single person, you get an extra day off on your birthday. So they don't expect you to work on your birthday, which is great. Probably one of the key things that's probably one of my favourite highlights since I've worked at Fortem is that in 2018, in September, I was given the opportunity to travel to Greece, take part in a charity walk from ancient Olympia to Sparta in order to raise money for charity. So our national charity for that year was boxing gyms across the country, because we was doing a big initiative called Fit for Life. So they was telling us, we need to get in shape, because we obviously spend a lot of time sat at our laptops to get involved in fitness, and part of it was to apply to go on this walk. So we walked 20 miles a day for 5 days. I have to admit, it was probably one of the hardest and most challenging experiences in my life. I cried on day 4, but it was really good and it was so rewarding, and we ended up actually raising over £45,000 for charity from that walk. So that was really great, and we had a week off work in Greece as well, which was great. The next one was that I've been given the opportunity to travel to Northern Ireland. So don't get me wrong, these aren't as exciting as where Graham's been, but they are little bits and bobs. So we travelled to Northern Ireland with work to meet with some potential contractors. So we was looking at entering a contract with the council in Belfast. So in order to do that, we needed to go out and meet people. So we flew to Northern Ireland, and don't get me wrong, it was probably the busiest 2 days that I've ever had at work. So I had to get up at 3 AM, drive from home to Manchester Airport, then I flew from Manchester to Belfast, and then I went to work. So I did a full day at work, and then I went home, got up for work the next day and did a full day at work. And then I went to the airport, flew home, and didn't get home till midnight. So it was literally 2 days of non-stop, but it was so rewarding. And then also on the management trainee scheme, you get lots of opportunities to network with your colleagues. So what we normally do is every quarter we have a networking event where all the trainees get together. There's over 40 trainees in the business at the minute, all live in different parts of the country and work in different offices. And we get given the opportunity to meet up every quarter, whether it be to go laser questing, to do a meeting at work to talk about best practice, to talk about different placements, and really just to share all of our ideas. And then once a year we have Management Trainee of the Year awards, so in London in November, and the people that have graduated that year get put up for the awards. So we've been to London Zoo and held the awards there. We've held the awards at London St Pancras Station. We've been on a London bus tour and held it in a posh hotel. And then this year, obviously we've not done it yet due to the pandemic, but I have entered this year, so you never know, might become a winner. But that just shows all the different things, that it's not just about going to work and working every day. Obviously you work really hard, but you reap the rewards through these fun things as well that we get a chance to take part in. If you could just move on, please, Carl. And then, so just to conclude, really, I've got 3 key takeaways that I've built over my time while I've worked at Fortem. And the first one is, no question is a silly question. When I first started in finance at Fortem, I had no clue about the business, didn't even know what repairs and maintenance were. And my manager at the time, she said to me, ask everything, ask me everything. I do not mind whatever you ask me, because it means that you're willing to learn. And at first I thought, oh no, like I don't want to come across as though I don't know things. And looking back now, I've got a trainee working with me, and it's the first thing that I said to him. I said, ask as much as you can, because it's the main way to gather information and broaden your knowledge. So definitely that's one thing that I will always remember. The next one is to pick something you enjoy. So you spend the majority of your time at work, unfortunately, when you get older, but if you love your job, it will not feel like work. I definitely think that's so important. I never thought that I would be working in housing and construction when I was at school, because I loved science. I probably thought I'd end up being a science teacher, if I'm honest, and I'm in a completely different industry, and I think I never knew until I entered that industry that it's what I wanted to do. So I think sometimes it's always about taking that leap. It's definitely good to plan, and it's really good to know what you want to do, but don't worry if you don't. That's one thing that I think is really important. And then the last one is to make the most of your school years. As once you go into the world of work, you will definitely wish that you could go back to the days of playing on the playground with your friends at school. So thank you for listening to me and my career journey. If anyone's got any questions or anything like that, I would love to answer them.
Casey, thank you so much. That was really interesting, and it really rallied me some of the things that you said around, you know, taking the plunge and changing career, and sometimes where you think you'll end up, you don't. I spent my early career working for theatres and arts organisations, ended up as a teacher for 13 years, and now I'm in this job. And so you just never know where things are going to take you, but some things are worth taking a risk, and because you could end up doing something you love. And I love the point about if you pick something that you love because it won't feel like work. That's a really good point. You've answered, again, I was writing some questions down, and then you bullet points to beat me to it. But I've got a couple, because I think you raised a couple of really interesting points. What advice would you give to a young person who feels unsure about which pathway they want to take?
I'd definitely say explore your interests. I think if you've got specific things that you're interested in, I think it's definitely worth having a look at career paths that include them. But also I think speak to people, ask people, don't be afraid to go to people, even your parents, friends of your parents, ask them what they do and whether you think it'd interest you. I think it's really important that don't worry if you don't know what you want to do, because I didn't know until a couple of years ago. When I was 2 years into Fortem, I didn't have a clue. So I think it's the best thing to do is just ask around. I think ask others about what they do, and I think you'll probably be surprised that the people that you speak to, their career histories as well and how it's changed, and there might be something that they go, oh, 15 years ago I was doing this. Then you go, oh, actually, that sounds quite interesting. I'd like to pursue that. But I think really it's just about gathering information and finding out from as many people as possible the different opportunities that they are out there. But also I think it's taking part in things like this as well. It's really good that schools will put on Workplace Opportunity Week, get people in from different industries to talk to you about different things that they are out there that you can try.
That's thank you for answering. It's really true. I often used to say in assemblies to young people, if I'd have met the number of employers that you've met whilst I was at school, I wouldn't be stood talking to you now. And it's such a great opportunity to get involved in things like this. And there are so many wonderful tools out there now where you can go off, like there's the I Could website where you can explore lots of careers. There's the LMI for All tool where you can put any job title in pretty much in the world and it'll tell you what the job involves, how much you could get paid. So there's lots of things out there for you, which I'm sure teachers will already know and can signpost you to. Two more questions. What skills do you think are important? The same question that I asked Graham about. What skills should young people really be thinking that they need to develop if they want to enter the workplace?
I think the key one would be communication. I think being able to speak to people is really important. I don't think necessarily confidence is too big of one because people build that over time. But I would say the key one is communication. And I also think it'd be really important to think about your audience and who you're speaking to as well, and building them relationships, because there's definitely different ways that you will learn to speak to different people. And I think having communication skills is really important when you're going for interviews, whether it be for college, whether it be for a job, for a part-time job, a full-time job, work experience. I think being able to go and speak to someone and just openly tell them what you're thinking, how you're feeling, your experience, what you want out of that opportunity. I think communication is the key one for me.
Absolutely, you're spot on, and it's all those things that your teachers talking about, they're not just saying it for fun. They are really invaluable skills that you develop. And my last thing, you've talked about all the wonderful things that are a bonus for your job, going to Greece, all of the fancy events. But when you think about, the day-to-day, what's the best thing about your job?
So I'd say the best thing about my job is the people that I work with. I think the good thing that we have about the company that I work for is everyone feels like a family. We actually often refer to it as the Fortem family. There is so many people in the business, but everyone's so friendly. So I think I could probably walk into any office in the Fortem company, industry, brand, and people will be friendly to me. I don't have to worry. I don't have to think, oh God, I'm going to a new office. Not really sure who I'm going to bump into. Everyone is so friendly. And I think that's really important about going to work and feeling comfortable. I think that's what it is. Not only that, actually, I'm going to tell you too, Carl, sorry, because I've already said one. The other thing I would say is the opportunity that I'm given to progress. So since I started 4 years ago, I am a completely different person. I've been put through a lot of training at work. I think it's really important, personal development. They've given me so much training and also put me through a degree, which I failed to mention during my presentation. So I'm actually in the final year of a university degree as well. So just because I wasn't ready to go to university when I was at school, it doesn't mean that I'm not ready now. So I think the opportunity to progress and feeling comfortable are the two best things about my job.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Casey. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and hear about your journey, and all the best for the future. You're at the beginning of it, and it sounds so exciting. So I haven't had any other questions coming into the chat, but I will give it a couple of minutes just in case we do. But just from myself, as we do wrap up, and if you do have some time with your teacher and your classmates now, have a talk about what you've heard today. What businesses have you heard from? What sector do they come from? Do you even know the difference between a business and a sector? Start to have those conversations. Where do you think your skills lie? Where do you see yourself in 3, 5, 10 years time? You don't have to have a clear pathway, but you might want to have an idea of that. All of these events are about inspiring you to aspire. So what are your aspirations? We do have more events coming up this week, which you may be involved. Your teachers may have already have subscribed you to. We do have more. These events, will be going on to gmax.co.uk and will be available for months after this. So if there are some events that you would have liked to have seen, you can go online and see them. And for some of you who are thinking about your next steps, yesterday we did a broadcast on the Learn Live platform, which showcased the education pathway opportunities for over 20 colleges and sixth forms from across Greater Manchester, and those are available now, those videos, on Learn Live. So if you go to Learn Live and search Greater Manchester and my education, my 2021 education in Greater Manchester, you'll find those videos, and again within the next week or two they'll be available on gmax.co.uk. All that remains for me to say is a huge thank you today to Graham and to Casey for sharing their stories and insights, and thank you to all of you for coming, and for your teachers, your school, for allowing you this time out of lesson to hear from us. You can keep up to date with what's going on by logging on to gmax.co.uk, and all that remains for me to say is thank you again to our presenters. Thank you for attending, and I wish you all the very best of luck. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.